Hello beautiful people, my name is Bridget and welcome back to my channel. Hope you're having an awesome day, and today's video is going to be a follow-up to a video I just did. So you guys may have seen, I'll also leave it in the cards and down below for you if you haven't seen it. But I just did a video on palettes that I probably shouldn't have bought because I really have not got that much use out of them. So today we're going to do the opposite of that. Today we're going to talk about palettes that I've gotten a lot of use out of. These are things that a lot of them I use frequently still. And like these are things that I feel like it was worth the purchase. I've gotten some use out of it, more so than a bunch of other palettes in my collection. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's video. Before we get started, today's video is sponsored by Shadow Rack. So I want to tell you a little bit about Shadow Rack. So this is the Shadow Rack. You may have seen this before on Instagram. I followed them on Instagram before we even like reached out to do the sponsorship. And they're really easy to store like your ColourPop Super Shock shadows or any single shadows that you may have. So you just have a little shadow rack right here. They peg together. You can peg them to the wall like beside your desk or work area. And they also peg together with different sizes. You get multiple sizes of these. They have a Kickstarter right now to make these more available. So I'll leave that linked in the top of the description box for you. But you can just store your ColourPop shadows right here. Just pop them in. And it's way easier to use. If you're like me and you forget to use your ColourPop shadows all the time, this is a really easy way to store a bunch of them on your desk, in your work area, wherever, and then you'll not forget them in your drawers. So if you want to check out Shadow Racks, I'll leave this at the top of the description box. Thank you guys so much for sponsoring today's video. Alright guys, before we get started, I'll make one of this channel cruelty-free, so is everything I'm mentioning in today's video, and I would love to know one palette down below that you've gotten a lot of use out of, like a ton of use out of. I would love to hear about it. Also, if you're not subscribed to my channel, I'd love if you joined us here. It'd be cool. So let's go ahead and get to the first thing. This first one I craved for so long. Even though when it first was announced, I wasn't like into it, but the more I saw it, the more I wanted, the more I loved it. And then when I finally got it, I used it a ton. So this is the Dose of Colors Friendcation palette. It's super cute. I like that when I rub it, the glitter doesn't come off my hands. Like, it's really nice packaging. So this is the Dose of Colors Friendcation palette. I'm gonna be honest, the greens and the blues in here, I don't have any interest in it. They're okay. They're whatever. But in here, honestly, the neutral shades and this shade in particular, mostly this shade, I love. It's a beautiful shimmer. This is kind of the thing I love to put over my lid all the time. And then these neutrals are just so easy to just pick 2 or 3, buff them over your crease, put this on the lid, and go. I feel like it's a really easy palette to use, and I love the way these shimmers look. Even the blues and the green, which I'm like, about, they're like okay. They're just, the shimmers are beautiful. I love the quality of this palette, and it's just so pretty and fancy. So if it goes on sale, definitely think about picking it up. It's really cute, but it's really expensive at full price. So I understand if you want to wait till it's on sale for this one. Also, I noticed when I was picking out the palettes for this video, I am a very neutral person. Who knew? I love having fun colors. I love experimenting with fun eyeshadow. But on like the daily, I really do stick to like fun hair and neutral makeup. Honestly, it's just how I am. I accept that at this point. So the next thing is the Urban Decay and Gwen Stefani palette. I don't use this much anymore, but I am so close to hitting pan on so many shades in this palette because I love Gwen Stefani so much. Will She Marry Me? This looks like the Bathwater music video from No Doubt. I love that. So a lot of these shades, like these really light shades, I am almost hitting pan on, especially Skimp. It looks like Skimp is the one I had the most, and Anaheim. So Skimp and Anaheim, my two like go-tos, buff it over the crease kind of colors. They're really pretty. Not too crazy about the quality of the black or these like colors right here. But a lot of the neutral colors is the colors Gwen uses a lot. They're really easy to use. I love Gwen Stefani, so I'm biased, but I love this palette. I don't use it as much anymore, like I said, but I have hit almost pan on like 3 shades in here, and I've put a good hearting on a lot of it, so I have gotten my use out of this palette. I don't know what it is. I'm sorry if I feel weird in this video. Like, this is the 3rd video I filmed today, and I'm like out of breath. I don't know if it's because I just ate, but like, if I look weird or like I sound weird, I apologize. So I have 3 ColourPop palettes that I've gotten a lot of use out of. This first one is the Through My Eyes palette by ColourPop. I've gotten so much use out of this one. One of my cats got a hold of it though because there is scratch marks all over it, and I did not know about it until this very moment. But anyways, this is the Through My Eyes palette by ColourPop. It's just a really simple palette to reach into. I love the cool tones in here, like this shade right here, so easy to buff over the crease. You can also get a little bit of yellow. I love taking like a small tapered blending brush into the inner corner, put a little bit of yellow in, then doing neutral over the rest of the eye, just for like a little bit of pop of color. Also, this shade right here, Nostalgia, is so cool tone pink that I love it because I love like a lip like this. It's very cool tone pink, so it kind of matches. This is really pretty shimmer over the lid. Also, honestly, everything about this palette's really good. If you want like a little pop of yellow, you want a little pop of pink, you want a little pop of orange, you want a little pop of blue, it has it in here. It's really pretty. The only thing I haven't used is the shade Flex and the shade Lomo. So I haven't used these shimmers, but the rest of the palette I've gotten a lot of use out of. Like, really good, especially for like $20 or something like that. That's how much this is from ColourPop. Really good. Gotten a lot of use out of it, and it's a great mirror size in here too if you're traveling. This palette right here from ColourPop, the colors did not intrigue me really, but the packaging did. The packaging is literally the prettiest packaging, like design wise. As someone who's done like some graphic design work, I love the packaging of this. It's aesthetically pleasing. It's crap to me, and maybe that's why I use this palette so much, because it's beautiful. Even the color scheme isn't like my favorite in the world, because I'm not really too much into light pinks. So this is the Sweet Talk palette. It's a beautiful Easter palette. Like, this packaging though is stunning. I love that. It's beautiful. But this is the color scheme. Honestly, when I'm going in here, I'm just going to grab a neutral to throw something on the lid. I might throw a gold, and I might throw a light pink in here. Honestly, that's what I use this palette for, and it works out fine. Nothing in here particularly is my favorite. This shade right here, this pressed glitter, is super fragile, so if you like smush your finger in there, it's going to come out like it's really fragile. But if you just need a light dusting, or like you want a really feminine look, this can give it to you really simply without much effort, and it's nice. And lastly, my most used ColourPop palette for sure. This is actually my second one. I have one and almost hit pan on a bunch of shades, and then I was out with Betty G in Orlando one day, and we were at Ulta, and she bought me a backup of this, and I've been using the backup right now. So this is the Yes Please palette by ColourPop. This is my favorite palette. ColourPop, I love you. It's my favorite brand. And of all palettes I own, probably Yes Please is like my palette, like my favorite palette. Not too crazy with the packaging. I think the packaging could be cuter and cleaner because this gets kind of dirty real fast. But the color scheme in here I love. I love. It has my favorite yellow eyeshadow of all time. Yellow eyeshadow is my thing, you guys. I live for yellow eyeshadow. This is my favorite yellow eyeshadow ever. Even if you put it in a single, I don't know if it'd be the same. They have like Tiki from ColourPop, which looks like the same color. It's not the same quality. This color over here, Mischief, is it. Honestly, Butter Cake is a really pretty shimmer to go over your lid as well. I just love these shades. This Cool Tone Brown Note to Self, so nice for over the crease. This is a really pretty color for on the lid too. You have this nice shade to deepen up. You can also go warm tone with it. I don't really use it for warm tone shadows. I use it for like the Cool Tone Brown. This little neutral here is perfect for setting the lid no matter what other palette you're using. Sometimes if I'm using like one other palette, I'll just dip into this just to set my lid with this shade. It's just a stunning palette overall. I love it. It's my favorite. I cannot even tell you how many times I've used this palette, like my other one, and then I'm already starting to like make some small dents in this one as well. I love ColourPop's Yes Please palette so much, and for this being their first ever palette they released, like, oh my god, you cannot live up to this again. It's just great. Next up is a palette I don't really use anymore. It's pretty old, but I still have a really good place in my heart for it, and I used it a ton when I first bought it because it was really expensive to me. And I still think $35 original price for this small palette is a lot. But like, I remember the incident of like sitting in the car after I left Ulta being like, should I go back in there and get this palette? And having Daniel go back in and get it for me because I couldn't bring myself to pay that much. So I just gave him my card. I was like, you do it. You make the transaction happen. And I had this palette, and I love this palette so much. This is the California Dreaming palette by Lorac. Not a fan of everything about being California themed. I stand by my original review of that, saying that not everything's about California. I know it's a song reference, I'm just saying. But packaging, kind of tacky, but I'm kind of living for it a little bit too. This color scheme though is just so cool. It's so cool that no matter what hair color I have, no matter what I'm doing, I can make this palette work for me. It's really pretty. I've put some huge some huge dents into the shades Cozy, Starfish, and Button. So this one, and this one, they're really nice. This kind of area is the type of things I've used the most from this palette. This shade Kitty Cat is one of my favorite like shimmer shades of all time. It's just stunning. It's not a color that I reach for very often, but like knowing I have this in my collection, it's a stunning shimmer formula. It's beautiful. Everything about it's just really pretty. Also, some of the darker shades in here, like Seaside, make for a really unique green shade that a lot of palettes don't have. You might have a dark ivy green shade. This is more of a dark, like semi-shimmery forest green, and it's really unique. So I love everything about this palette. I love it very much. I have not used it in forever, but I put a big hearting on this, and I feel like I definitely got my money's worth out of it at the time when I first bought it. And lastly, we have two Tarte palettes. I feel like my last video I had two Tarte palettes that I really didn't use, and I felt like I was kind of nagging on Tarte a little bit, and I'm definitely not, because I love Tarte palettes and I love the way they smell because they smell good. But this first one is the Tartelette and Bloom. I use this at least probably twice a week. If I'm not filming a video, you guys, I'm probably just going to use this over my eyes to run out of the house and be done for the day. The Tartelette and Bloom palette I see in so many videos, like collection videos, and people like hitting pan on these things. Because I don't know what it is about this palette. Like they have the Tartelette Toast, so they have the Tartelette other palettes. They have tons of Tarte palettes. This one though is like, it's good and it's a staple palette. I think for me, something that I love is it has this shimmer in here. Like this is my go-to, put it on the lid and go kind of shimmer. I love this shade. It has plenty of darkening up shades too. It's really easy compositionally wise to think what you're going to do with this palette. I love the fact that all these are really cool neutrals, because if I'm just running out of the house not thinking about it, I'm going to put a cool tone brown over my crease and then something shimmery on the lid. And that's exactly what I can do with this palette, because there's just so many like kind of cool tone neutral shades, which I really appreciate, and it's really easy to darken up your outer corner with this palette as well. So honestly, if I'm not thinking about it, I'm just going for like a go-to look. I'm using this Tartelette and Bloom palette a ton, like a ton, and I definitely see why everyone hits pan on this palette now. Like it's definitely like, it's a boring neutral palette. What's so special about this? And I'm definitely not like the biggest fan of like all neutral palettes. Like I want a little bit of color here and there on my palettes, even if they're neutral palettes like these. But this one, I don't know, it's just a staple. I love it. And lastly is a newer Tarte palette that I told myself I didn't need when I bought it, and I regretted buying it instantly, but I still really wanted it, so I kept it. But I knew from the bat that I'd have to force myself to use it, and I have been forcing myself to use it, so much so that I actually really enjoy it now. I know you shouldn't like buy things and regret it. You should just return it, or like you shouldn't be like forcing yourself to use something. But honestly, the more I use this, the more I was like, okay, it's a really good staple palette. Maybe it's okay to have in my collection, because I know I didn't need to spend the money on it, but like I wanted it, and I feel like I really get a lot of use out of it now without having to try to use it. So this is the Young Wild Cruelty Free. This is the Tartelette Unleashed palette from Tarte. It's got like this stuff on it. And it says Young Wild and Cruelty Free, so I was like suckered in by that as well. This is the palette. It smells so good. Like I love the way Tarte palettes smell. A lot of you guys, when I mentioned it in a video like a week or two ago, agreed with me that Tarte palettes smell so good. And then a couple of you guys were like, I've never smelled one, I need to smell one. They smell like vanilla, but like in a good way. They smell real good. It's really intoxicating about Tarte palettes. They smell great. But this is the palette color scheme, and I realized I just like this kind of color scheme. I'm not really a big fan of like the warm tones in here, but like look, we have a cool tone pink. I'm all about that. We have some cooler tones right here. We have a nice light shimmer. We have a nice light shimmer, and we have like a yellowy shimmer. That's all I really need in the palette. Look at this cool tone too. Like I'm all about that. I'm all about this kind of color scheme. When I bought this palette though, Through My Eyes palette from ColourPop is the first thing I saw. Like when I saw it, was like, oh, it's just like the ColourPop Through My Eyes palette. This is the kind of color scheme both of them have, where it's like neutrals, a couple warm tones, and like a yellowy, and like a cool tone pink. It does remind me of each of these palettes, but I use both these palettes consistently now, so this is definitely kind of color story that apparently I use a ton, with like a little bit of yellow, a little bit of cool tone pinks, like a couple neutrals. This is the kind of color scheme I go for. Both these palettes remind me of each other so much, but like I love them both on their own individually. Alright guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe and give me a like on this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, and have an awesome day wherever you are. Bye guys.